Hello friends, welcome to Risingpearl.com. Today we're going to take a look at question number 21 that appeared in 2016 CBSE Class-X Math exam and how do we solve this question. So let's take a look at what the question is. Due to heavy floods in a state, thousands were rendered homeless. 50 schools collectively offered to the state government to provide place and the canvas for 1,500 tents to be fixed up by the government and decided to share the whole expenditure equally. The lower part of each tent is a cylindrical of base radius 2.8 meter and height 3.5 meter, with conical upper part of the same base radius but of height 2.1 meter. If the canvas used to make the tents costs rupees 120 per square meter, find the amount shared by each school to set up the tents. What is the value generated in the above problem? So the first thing I want to say is that my hats off to CBSE for picking a question like this, because as I'm reading the question, it reminds me of as if this question is making a reference to Chennai floods or the enormous and severe flooding that happened in Chennai just a short time ago, and more importantly how the entire community came together to confront and rise above and solve the challenges. So that this is a remarkable question in that CBSE actually has a question that relates to the recent events, and it's a symbol of how the entire city came together and the entire state came together to get against these devastating floods. The second thing, now let's take a look at some important numbers in the question. So first is there are 50 schools that decided to help put up 1,500 tents, right? And the tents, each tent has a lower part which is a cylinder for whom base radius is given 2.8 meters and height is given 3.5 meters. And then the upper part is actually a cone, upper part with the same base radius as the cylinder, but the height is 2.1 meter. So each tent has a cylinder at the bottom and a cone at the top, right? And there are 1,500 such tents. And also what is given is that the canvas which is used to make the tents. So what is canvas? Canvas is a very rough and tough cloth which is used to make all kinds of outdoor tents, right? So the canvas actually costs rupees 120 per square meter. So the question is, find the amount which was shared by each school to set up the tent, and second is, what is the value which is generated in the above problem? So I think from a bigger picture standpoint, the value was really priceless, because what the schools are doing, and this is actually true in real life, what happened during the Chennai rains is that hundreds and thousands and lakhs and millions of people came together and they became volunteers to help fellow citizens, basically to help them out, right? So the value what these schools are doing, that is priceless. But in the context of this question, value will be the total cost. I think it's kind of, I have to admit that it is not a very clear-cut meaning as what is the value, but I would assume the value is the total cost of this entire exercise, which is total cost to set up 1,500 tents. And then what is the amount shared by each school? Then you take the total value or the total cost and you divide that by 50, because each school, all schools shared the expenditure equally, right? So let's draw the tent first. So here is the bottom part of the tent, which is in the form of a cylinder, and we know the two most important, the only two dimensions, measures which are very important for a cylinder is the radius, and radius is given as 2.8, and the height, which is given as 3.5 meters. So we know the radius, the base radius, and we know the height of the cylinder. Now the top part or the upper part of the tent is actually in the shape of a cone. So we have a cylinder at the bottom and a cone at the top. Now what is given for the cone? Cone has the same base radius as the cylinder, and the height of the cone is 2.1. So this is the height of the cone, this is 2.1, this is the height of the cylinder, 3.5, and the base radius for the cone is the same base radius as of the cylinder, so it should be 2.8 meter. So now how do we find out the total cost? So to find out how much amount of canvas we need, we have to really find out the total amount of area for one tent, right? So now, so what is going to be the area? So the area of one tent will be equal to, which will be the area of cylinder, right? Area of the cylinder plus area of the cone. So this will be the area of one tent, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's give ourselves a little bit more space here. So what we have is, now let's look at the area for the cylinder, right? So what is the formula for area of the cylinder? Area of a cylinder is, the top part of a cylinder is a circle, so it is pi r square, plus the bottom part of a cylinder is a circle, which is pi r square, right? Plus the lateral part, which is the lateral surface area, which is this curved surface, and that area is 2 pi r h. Similarly, area of a cone, what is the formula for area of a cone? So the base is a circle, which will be pi r square, plus this will be the curved surface area of a cone, whose formula is pi r l. Now if we look at the tent, remember this is a tent, right? And we are using the canvas to put up the tent. Now if that is the case, do we need to have canvas on the floor? This part, absolutely not, because this is the ground. We don't need canvas on the floor, right? So when we talk about the cylinder, we can take one of these out. Now what about this part? This part, the top of the top circle, of the cylinder. Well, this is actually hollow, right? So meaning that if you're inside the tent, you can really see through the top of the tent. So there is no sheet of cloth, canvas in between. So that means this also will go away. And when we think about the area of the cone, so this also will go away. So pi r square is the area of the circle. So there is no, we don't have to have any canvas for these spaces, right? In other words, so the area of the tent will be really equal to the curved surface area of the cylinder, which is 2 pi r h, and the curved surface area of the cone, which is pi r l. So we have to add these two to find out the area of one tent, right? Now let's take a look at, let's give ourselves more space here. So if we talk about the area for a cylinder, let's write in an abbreviated fashion here. It will be 2 pi r h, right? Or 2 pi r, actually I'm just repeating myself. I do not want to do the actual calculation here, because I want to, like we have discussed this when we solved the area questions, volume questions, we want to do the calculations as late as possible, because there may be some factors that we can take common and some factors may cancel out, so on and so forth, right? Now because we know the value of r, we know the value of h, so we can simply plug it in and find out the area for the cylinder. Now what about the area of the cone? To find out the area of the cone, the formula is 2 pi r l. Now what is L? L is this length. L is the slant height, right? Now we know the formula is that L square will be, because this is the right triangle, will be h square. This is h square. This is h. So it will be h square plus r square. So what is h? H is 2.1. So it will be 2.1 square plus R is same as this, which is 2.8 square. So if you do this, right, you are going to find out it will be 12.25. You simply have to, just find out 2.1 times 2.1, it will be 4.41, and similarly you find out what this value is, and then you add them, you will get this. So this is L square, right? So then L will be equal to square root of this, and if you do that, you will get 3.5 meters. That means this is 3.5 meter. So now we know the value of L. So at this point we know R, we know H, and we know L. So we can find out the total area. Right? Now let's give ourselves a little bit more space. So we know that, so area of 1 tent will be equal to 2 pi r H plus pi r L, or this will be equal to, so from here we can take pi r common, so pi r, now 2h, this is for the cylinder, right? So h is this, so 2 times 3.5 plus L is left over here, and L is equal to 3.5, which we just did, 3.5. So now this is going to be this much meter square is the area of 1 tent, right? So how many tents do we have? We have 1,500 tents. So in other words, let's see if we want to simplify this a little bit. So this will be pi r times, so 2 times 3.5 and 1 times 3.5, it will be 3 multiplied by 3.5, right? So this much meter square. So if this is area of 1 tent, so area of 1,500 will be just simply this multiplied by 1,500. So let's do that next. So pi r times 3 times 3.5, right? So total area of 1,500 tents, right, which is equal to amount of canvas that we need, right? So this will be equal to pi 22 by 7 r, which is 2.8 pi r times 3 times 3.5. So this is for 1, and this we have to multiply by 1500. So this much meter square is going to be the total area or the amount of canvas that we need, right? Now this is how much square meter of canvas we need. What is given is that the canvas, it actually costs rupees 120 per square meter, meaning for 1 square meter the canvas actually costs 120. So to get this many meters, we simply have to multiply this by 120. So let's do that next. So what we have, so total cost will be, so pi r 3 times 3.5 times 1500 times 120. So total cost. So total cost will be equal to pi r 3 times 3.5 times 1500 times 120. Why 120? Because for 1 meter square it is 120. For this many square meter it will be this multiplied by 120. So we simply have to find out what this number is, right? So this is the total cost, and this is the cost for canvas. So like I said earlier, so the total cost will be this, and this will be equal to the value which is generated, right? And now, so total cost, so this is total cost per school. Remember, there are 50 schools, and they are sharing the cost equally. That means whatever this number is, this divided by 50 will give us total cost per school. So take the same number, 22, 2.8, 3, 3.5 times 1500 times 120, the entire thing, and we have a 7 over here, times, we are dividing this by 50. So this will be the total cost per school. So if you just simplify this, it will give you the answer as to how much is the cost that each school has to pay for this particular exercise. So this is how we solve question number 21. I am absolutely sure that you can simply do this calculation of your own and find out what the answer is. So next we are going to take a look at how do we solve question 22.